So Len is in a dream and he's aware of it almost immediately, as opposed to the last time that he was in one. Um, oh, hold on a second.
It shows. Yeah.
Okay. Len is in a dream and he's aware of it from the moment that it starts. There was just a moment where he had a sense of kind of like fire and darkness, and then for the first time in a really long time, he dreamed really clearly of home, of being back in Usura in like the depths of winter, in the kind of snows where like mothers keep their children from going out. But it's the like that first kind of like frozen ice afterwards where the snow itself is like hard enough to walk on, and like the sky is cleared and like things are like snapped to the bone cold, but like it's not coming down and you're not worried about losing your sense of orientation. um, he's heard 1,000 different rumors of what Mother Winter is like. She's the central figure of like almost all folklore that's in Usura.
Yep.
So she has many different incarnations. He's heard stories about her riding around on like a skeletal horse or like a metal like mixing bowl, and um, uh, the image of the woman that's before him is like grandmotherly, but like the grandmother that rides a Harley and smokes too much. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Like she's lean and she's hard, but that doesn't mean that there isn't like a certain kindness to her. And like as Len kind of takes his first step forward in the snow, he realizes he is a child. Like in the way that he's been, an animal or whatnot, as he's absorbed different like spirits before. This time he is legitimately like him before he really started his training, before everything had happened. And uh the she just kind of like gestures for him to follow and then steps off like walking through the wilderness.
He will take a look around for a moment. What else am I going to do? And he tries to shift into a snow leopard just because it'd be more comfortable in this instance, but if the dream does not allow him, he'll just kind of toddle his way.
It's actually a little bit different. Like he kind of like thinks about that, and like the snow leopard that he might have transformed into is sort of like walking alongside him. Does that make sense? Except it is also a child. It's like the kind of big fuzzy headed, hasn't gotten any fights yet, doesn't have any cool scars, a little bit of awkwardness as it pads along. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Very much.
Yep.
Except, it's like still a very large kitten. And the other animals that he's like made bonds with and made agreements to, there's a very angry cat that does not look like it cares to be in this kind of colder snow. There's an otter that's sort of like bouncing down in under the ice, then popping its head back out in other places, and bounding along in other parts, as the bear slips through, like the little bear cub like slips through ice with each step and keeps kind of pushing itself back up and is absolutely having the slowest time of all of them.
Of course. That is the way it goes.
And you see Grandmother Winter just kind of like, she looks back, she smiles, she still hasn't said a word.
Len is a patient hunter, and this is not the first time he has met or communicated with a deity of his land. So he assumes she will get to what she needs to say in her own time. So she looks like the kind of grandmother who loves you, but will give you the back of her hand if you disrespect her. So getting Grandmother Wintered across the head just doesn't seem like a great thing.
Yeah, and you see she continues to walk through the fields, and as you continue, you're struck by that you don't see anything of like human make. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
You don't see roads, you don't see signs, and like Usura doesn't have a ton of them. There are enough to keep people oriented, especially during the worst winters. And you finally come to a place that you realize was like the city that you were sent to for a lot of your training, except there's nothing there yet. You just recognize the forests that would be around it, the mountains, and all you see is like the serene beauty of the world without the touch of men.
Yes. Men create many beautiful and wondrous things, but they also corrupt and destroy. This
Um,
is this is known.
and you see her, she just kind of like kneels down next to it. And for a moment, you can kind of see like her clothes are just, it's like um, a tabard in the sense of like there's a strip of cloth in front and a strip of cloth in back, like connected at the around the neck, but like nothing at the sides and nothing underneath. Um, and you can see in her like along her ribs the scars of different wounds, and it's almost impossible to imagine like what could harm grandmother winter, but you can see the scars from where someone or something attempted.
Does what caused those still live, Mother Winter?
um, and she kind of she looks to the side and you realize like there aren't going to be words coming, like you don't know whether it's like a matter of your favor or the matter of like this method of communication, but like what you see is like a sudden shift in like your perspective. You are somewhere that is as far from Usura as you can imagine, on tropical islands that are like lush with trees you've never seen before, and ferns, and like blue water that looks inviting instead of like it might freeze you to death. And there are cities that rise up and over it that are unlike anything mankind has made. They are, uh, they remind you of the chitin of an insect. There's a kind of like sleek glossiness to them. And as you watch, you can see that like they're engaged in battle with something. Like there are what look like flying canoes or something that are like moving through the air, and see bolts of like fire and light that are shooting from sticks in their hands. You're like aware enough of the difference of like technology between like a gathering tribe and like like a musket company, that you can kind of get the sense of like they are capable of things, and you realize that you are getting a glimpse at the Sinearth. And you see like a bubble is like slowly appearing around them and enclosing them and shrinking like smaller and smaller and smaller, and like they are blasting into it as it comes closer and closer. um, and then as you look up and over, you can see Matushka, like her hand is on the bubble. It's almost like a giant human putting an insect under a piece of glass. Um, Except it's like the entirety. And then suddenly it just sort of shifts and slips away, and the islands are empty. There's no sign of habitation. There's no sign of life. There's no sign of like the insectoid people that were there. Um,
The thieves. Yes.
um, and you're suddenly back in like the frozen, you know, natural Usura, and you've just asked the question of like, what hurt you?
Well, they, if I understand, got what was coming to them for their temerity, for stealing from the gods.
She kind of points, and you see the way from Usura like whoosh over the Drakkenberg mountains, and you're suddenly like at the ground where there's rivers crossing, and you realize that you are at like the site of Freeburg instead, the Wachtturm, rising up and over everything, even when there is not a sight nor sound of animals or nature or anything else. And you can see colors like passing through it as though the bone were a prism. And through one of the outputs of colors, you can see that city. You can see it as if it were just sort of like prismatically like hued, like you were looking at it through the yellow colors that sort of saturate around it. Does that make sense? And you see that in the other spheres of colors that are emanating from the Wachtturm, you can see other glass bubbles
Other
of wildly
places.
different looking cities.
Oh, so this then is the linchpin that keeps these other cities out of our world.
And with that, Mother Winter reaches over and ruffles your childhood hair and then leans and plants a kiss on your forehead. And you wake in a ring of snow.
Brain freeze. Okay. but they what's there snow? What the hell happened?
You felt like you feel like a little snowflake fall off your cheek, and you realize like there's a ring like a body outline on the bed where you were laying.
Wow, that was yet another greater being I've spoken to. And why are my candles burned down?
Um,
Was somebody cold?
there's a lovely warm little fire in your fireplace. However, our cold open is not quite done yet.
Oh, okay.
We're going to switch over to Hans, who is dozed off in the corner. After having come back with Gav with their loot and everything that they're going to be going over with everybody in the morning. The it's kind of like a quick sleep that like sneaks up on you. You're not used to like sleeping sitting up or anything like that. And Gav is like in the room and kind of almost like sees it happen, sees Hans kind of like sitting, like looking through some of the letters, some of the things that they'd acquired, and his eyes close and he just kind of like falls backward and his head hits the wall behind him with like a thump that's like loud enough you'd think he'd wake up. Does that make sense? And Hans, you're in the Black Forest. You're in the Black Forest and you're surrounded by the company of Eisen soldiers. You realize that you are on horseback, and so are like several of the others of the company. You see that they're like archers and like pikemen, and you have like a small group of those with like muskets that are ready to like return fire. And you kind of like look to your side and you see a familiar looking captain, and realize that you are wearing the same uniform that he does, and he holds a torch aloft, and like all around you in the forest you can see the eyes of creatures begin to glow in the darkness, and you hear chittering and you hear like inhuman noises. And you hear the captain like, "Form square, fall against your brothers, spears out," calling out orders. And then you see a shadow like fly over one of like the ranks of shieldmen, and you see a like clawed six-legged creature just split his throat open, and like hard enough that like half his head comes off. And you see the rest of the men kind of like they're in the midst of like panicking, and they're also like starting to look to you for leadership. I would like you to make a battle roll.
Oh, okay. What is that?
Wits plus commander. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Plus commander. Oh, shit.
And at the same time, I would like you to make a resolve roll.
Okay. Commander, I do not have.
Sorry, I might have misnamed it.
Or strategist?
Strategist, yes.
Okay. What's a strategist might have in that? Okay, it's just one. And then resolve as well?
Separately. You're making wits plus.
Yes.
Yep. And if you have anything that helps you with like outside of your arcana, because I know you have both brave and cowardly, and but if you have anything else that helps you with like a fear test, you can use it here as
well. That's a holy shit, that's a 42 on the battle roll. God damn.
All right.
And for fear, I don't think I have anything else that helps with that. Besides, I mean, the arcana doesn't count. I think that's the only thing really. So
give me the first one. Give me the resolve.
Just flat resolve. 21.
Okay. So there's sort of like the first there's a moment where you start kind of like having the answers come to you by reflex. Everything you drilled as a young man, like you're in a different like person, like wearing a different uniform. You can tell that you're not quite yourself, but the things that you were taught that you never really got more than a few hours practice on a single battlefield are coming back to you. Does that make sense? And you can see like the army of monstrous things coming in, and there's a moment where you just feel like your stomach drop and like the terror of the last time you were in a battle and what happened to you and facing its imposing, and like you wheel your horse and turn and kind of like do your best to like make way for like the edge of the Wachtturm, right? And something cuts you from your horse. Like you literally watch like the front half of your body like separate from the second and land like feet apart from each other. And then you're back in the horse and you hear the commander like, form square, spears up, right before his head is taken off again. And like you're once again like being looked at and spitting orders. And like the second time there's sort of like I die if I run, I die if I step, and like the position is overwhelmed. Like men come apart, they lose their courage, or just a line breaks because something huge and massive and tree-sized comes through the shadows and sweeps men out of its way. And you die and die and die. It's like an exercise in futility, and at the same time, it's a constant exercise in strategy. Every single time there are mistakes made that you can form again the next time around. You can try anew. And there's a moment where everything seems particularly futile, where you have gotten it to the point where it's like a stalemate. It's continuing. You have, every man that's there has like lit a torch and is using it alongside, their weapons to like create a ring of light around them. And they're still dying, but it's slowly, you know what I'm saying? And they're trying to like make creatures bleed and scream for every inch of ground that they give, for every person on their side that like falls to the ground, they're making sure to take 2 or 3 with them. And your horse goes down. You're fighting like side by side with them, and it just seems like, what is the point? There is no end to this. We cannot stop them. Every time we cut 3 down, there are 6 more to replace it. And then the sun breaks through the trees, and you watch as the creatures sort of like dissolve in the mist. Like your dead are still dead, and you kind of realize there's still pockets of darkness, and you can still see the eyes of creatures looking out from within it. But you hear applause. And it's not even like the stage clap. It's like a genuine kind of round of it, but it's disrupted by the fact that there are the sounds of like blades hitting blades as the clap happens. And you see the Scotland like step from the shadows, and you see the form that you have been wearing sort of melt from around you.
What is going on? Where am I? Oh my God.
You're in your home in Freeburg.
My head hurts. What was that? What have you shown me?
He says, I have tested you, and you have proven far more capable than I expected so early.
What?
When we made our deal, I told you I needed a general.
Feels like you. Every inch of my. Everything hurts. What? Oh my God! I was not expecting a test of this magnitude so early. What do you want? I know that you said a general, and you said there's darkness on the horizon. What is it that you want from me? This uncertainty is getting too much to bear.
Says, I want your best. He says, I can step in and give you power from time to time. And he kind of reaches and he touches like the shoulder plate that's now on your. Um, he says, but I cannot carry you every step. A battle is coming, and I will need a general that I can count upon.
Well, I'm in this deep now. As I look around, seems like this place is kind of a metaphor for the fact that there's no way out but through.
He kind of smiles and says, a long time ago, there was a tree which was cursed to hold my essence. It was my prison. He says, and you see what I have done to expand its walls.
You mean to say that you are the whole forest? What? Wait, hold on. One step back. I feel like it's only fair at this point. What are you? I feel like I must know. This is.
He looks
Who were you?
thoughtful, and there's sort of like a moment where he like looks to the side, and he you see like a is like something travels up the wood that makes up his body and like around his head, and it like cracks open, and you see a man that looks wholly different than the monster. Does that make sense? He's fair and fine. He has like dark black hair that like falls all the way down to his waist. He has eyes that look like you're looking into the moon itself. And he looks into the fire that sort of still burns around the battlefield, like a couple of the torches that are still lit. And you see he like avoids the little like pools of sunlight that are coming through the branches. And he says, a long time ago, I was part of a war. And like you, I lost. Unlike you, I could not die.
So this is the fruit of your curse?
He says, this is the prison they put me in.
Hmm.
He says, but they underestimated me.
Certainly expanded. Wow.
He says, one day I will have my freedom, and I will punish those who placed me here. And when I do, you will ride at my side. After that, you will have a choice. Your service can continue, or you can have freedom.
As simple as that.
The only other way out before then is to go back into the grave.
Oh. Oh. I feel like my fate was sealed the moment I woke up in that carriage. But if it is a war, and if it is the fate of this place, then there's work to be done.
He says, you did well tonight, better than I expected.
Thank you. I'm flattered, really. Perhaps a little bit light on the death. Next time it's.
He says, do you think it will go lightly on a real battlefield?
Certainly not, but there's things to attend to on the other side of sleep as well. Can't be stiff as a board for my work during the day.
He just smiles. He says, until next time. And you awake with probably concerned Gav over you. I'll let Gav fill in how he reacts to you opening your eyes.
You're
You're muted,
muted.
Gav.
Of course I am. I was so into I was into the moment. Are you okay, soldier friend?
Oh, God. I've had. I mean, I think so. I've had
You
to.
look like you just walked out of bar after bad day.
I mean,
And I've seen you this whole day, so I don't understand.
close enough, I suppose. I had a insane dream, I guess. A vision. Take a pick.
You did not wake up in snow.
Oh, you are awake as well. I saw you falling asleep before me and Gav had left.
Yes, I find that not sleeping for 3 days because must turn into animal to observe things is not good in long run for mental acuity.
Sorry.
Yeah, I mean,
So that
just one needs to rest every so often. I hope you're feeling better now, at least.
better is relative term. Had a dream
kidding.
must discuss with whole group.
Before we do that, let me go ahead and drop the curtain. We can all give our introductions.
Wait, I'm not done yet. No, help me.
Little cane appears on the side.
I've been holding that
Big
in
giant.
All right.
because there was a thing in Zoom chat.
Thank you, everyone, and welcome to the Shadow of the Wachtturm, a 7th First Edition. Let's play set in the great lawless city of Freiburg. Our art is courtesy of Hero Forge, First Edition 7C, and Be Funky. Our producer is one of the moderators of Dirty 20 Gaming, the delightful and compassionate Gloriosa. And our lore master for the series is the beautiful and benevolent Sindra. Before we get started, I want to give a content warning. While the spirit of 7C is swashbuckling adventure and shadowy intrigue, the story will deal with mature themes, including death, loss, suicide, and grief. Eisen, our setting, is recovering from a 30-year civil war over religious differences. It may get dark sometimes, and there's no shame in bowing out if it's not a place your head can go at the moment. So without further ado, I'm going to have our savvy swashbucklers introduce themselves, and I will go ahead and start with Hans, who I've just been picking on.
Hello, I'm Rory. I am playing our fun soldier boy, as previously referred to, Hans Ulrich. Yep, there it is. And tonight is the only night I'm present in games at the moment, aside from games. Oh, thank you, Glory. I am streaming on the account that was just shouted out, and I am making an effort to hang out more in Discord, and I don't know, probably post dumb music memes that only I find funny. Streaming is something I am aspiring to do eventually, once I have more stuff set up and once I can make OBS behave better. That's the main thing. But yeah, it'd be eventually streaming DJ sets, and hopefully before then to satisfy whoever is looking for content, I'll post some mixes from my spare time on SoundCloud and some songs that are half finished. So yeah, that's about it for me. Oh, I think that Bat Kyle should go next.
Hey, folks, that's me. You found me. It's Bat Kyle. You can find me here on Thursdays. Wahaha. I identify as a menace all days, but on Thursdays, you can find me on our Fool's Gold campaign. It's a 5e, we call it King's Pyrite, where I play Badge's Newth, the saltiest, most reluctant hero that ever has been. You can find me tonight, of course, playing everybody's favorite shapeshifter pseudo mercenary. Kind of hard to really put Len in a box even now, but because he'll turn into a cat and get out of it, or maybe he will be dead in it. You can't really tell. Besides that, you can find me on the Discord being unhinged and posting terrible food memes because other people's pain amuses me, and nowhere else. So over to Sarah, who's laughing a lot.
Oh my lord. Yeah. Hey y'all. My name's Sarah. I also go by Sans on the Discord.
you can find me here, hopefully this week, 3 times a week. On the Tuesday game and in Cyberpunk Red, Carnage Heights, as Magic, Broken Heart of the Team Silverlock. On the Thursday game, the Fool's Gold campaign King's Pyrite as the DM. And what might be the last session. I don't know how we're gonna go this time. And on Sunday, I'm here as Rosa Nix. Other than that, you can find me over on Tango Productions working with the Scarred Adventurer on stuff and things that will come out eventually. We never have time to get stuff out. Bopping it over to Ruth.
Hi, you found me, because I guess we're still on that bit. You can find me here on Tuesdays as Exit, who's just trying to get everyone to figure their shit out.
It's probably a lot better, my bad.
On Thursdays as Des Rye. That's mean.
Is it
Accurate. No. Did I say who I'm?
Yes,
You did
right on
mention-
Thursdays.
Yes, you got
Thank
the
you.
Thursday.
And today as Runa, who I don't know how to describe. So good thing you're here. I really need to write my intro down. You can sometimes find me in the Discord. Less frequently now because Cyberpunk 2077 has sucked me in. Anyways, I'm going to hand it over to Gav because he's been bullying me. I'm kidding.
Hi, I am Bison_Stonefist. I am a cheeky little shit, and I'm here a lot actually. 3 times a week currently. I run our Cyberpunk Red game where a bunch of adults, it's called Carnage Heights, and it's about a bunch of adults who are trying to slowly grow up. That's not pointed at anybody at all. No. On Thursdays, I play the big damn hero. Yeah, Bison Lord Stonefist. That's me. Yeah, I play our big damn hero Encino. He is currently a big freaking dragon, and he's loving every minute of it. Even though it's only been like 5 seconds, because actions. And other than that, I'm in the Discord a lot because I have no life. And if you ever want to be entertained by a whole lot of like oversharing of any topic that I happen to know anything about, currently it's Warhammer, ask me a question. I will talk to you for like an hour and a half. I think that's everybody. No, let's go to Glory.
Glory to you and your stream. I am Blaze of Gloriosa, sometimes known as Glory, sometimes a streamer. Most recently, I'm just here and in Discord. I'm always in Discord. Like, I just download it directly to my brain at this point. But tonight, I am here playing our Not a Hermit, noblewoman, Honorine, who... She's got some shit going on, y'all. She came to Freeburg and shit blew up. That's all I got, man. Our storyteller is next.
And I am Siosa. I am allergic to social media, so the one place that you can find me is here on the Discord and on Sundays running Shadow of the Wachtturm. But you can also find me Fridays in the Pirates, the Rapscallion game that we're playing, where I'm a pirate automaton named Anchors Away. So with that, I'm going to cut us back into the game because I feel like we got some stuff to do tonight, y'all. So, in the ancient days of Numa, the great storyteller and philosopher Ceres the Wise once noted that an adventure can only begin in one of 3 ways: by death, by slur, or by letter. To begin without one of these incitements is folly. a debacle best described as an indiscretion, a dalliance, or an escapade. But fear not, we begin tonight properly girded with the letter, the most seductive of the three, and perhaps the most powerful. This particular letter is one that Honorine is tucking into a certain leather bag that is connected to her aunt's magical power.
I never should have shown you that letter.
Would you like to us to let her know what it says?
It's from Honorine, and it's in Montaigne, and I, once again, will not be doing the accent because I don't want to sound like Pepe Le Pew, honestly. To the most noble and radiant Duchess Jamais, wise and admired luminary of 6 du 6, from her respectful and loving niece. From 2 days past have I reached my destination of Fribourg, and found that a suitable abode had been secured by your most faithful and steadfast servant, previously sent for such purpose. Upon the instant of my arrival, the Jewel of Eisen demonstrated to me her reputation for being a place of much chaos and awe-inspiring diversity. My mornings have been early, my afternoons eventful, and my evenings greatly engrossed. I would be privileged, nay, delighted to convey to you a sampling of the most interesting parts thus far. In the most respectful way possible, I urge you to visit soon, as I am still stricken with dreadful bouts of homesickness. I long to hear the sweetness of your voice and the poetry of my own tongue. The inchoate grunts of the garbled Eisen tongue could never hope to compare to even the most uncoordinated exclamation in Montaigne. In fervent hope and boundless obedience, your most ordinary and adoring niece, Honorine Rosemarie Tiffane 6 du 6.
So we're not going to have an immediate response because Jamais does check frequently, but not constantly, on the contents of the bag. So when we had last left off, we'd had a number of purloined items had come to the players from the mansion of one Jor that bastard.
Yeah, fuck that bitch.
So Gavin, Hans, like, how did you want to, are you presenting them straight to Runa? Like, as far as the chest full of stuff, the letters, is it getting everybody together?
Runa is currently sleeping on the floor while her cousin and her cousin's child are on the bed.
Yeah, when you come in, Brandy is not actually sleeping. Her mother and her aunt, well, no, second cousin.
We can say aunt because usually the age gap, it's common to just call a cousin with a big age gap your aunt or uncle, so.
Yeah, but Brandy is awake, feet kind of kicking and clearly done sleeping even when the adults around her have not. A very tired kitten is in her arms.
Screaming for Len.
No, it's kind of just like giving up and like falling asleep.
Oh. Yeah, Gav's just like, your auntie is still asleep, da?
You want me to wake her?
She has had a very, very long day.
Okay, I can wake her.
Runa wouldn't be mad.
Oh.
Try not to wake your mother.
She kind of, she slips off the bed and she basically just kind of like flops herself over Runa so that her like head is upside down, her hair is kind of dangling in Runa's face when she wakes up.
As she flops on her, Runa will kind of like, well, good morning.
She just gives a big smile. She says, I said I could wake you up.
All right. Well, you did your job.
Do it anyway.
Good job.
I figured.
That's okay.
She's like, can we go to the market?
Was she asking?
Just adults, like, you know, how like little kids, like it's just like you just need an adult's permission.
Well, maybe not right this moment, but perhaps at some point we'll talk to your mom about it.
um, she's like, we usually went to the market for breakfast.
All right, well, when she wakes up, we'll see what she says, but let her sleep.
And she just nods.
Right. It seems like we have a bit of reading to do.
Oh,
A
They were more
giant bag
interested.
of papers.
Yeah,
Plunk
they
that
were
one
more
down.
interested in gold and silver than papers and secrets.
So under the player handouts, there is a particular letter amongst George's effects. And there is also, oh no, I think I just accidentally deleted my whole thing on that I'd written out for all of the other things from the revenge. So
Uh-oh.
Oh no,
Oh, that's definitely then a good time for Len to go out and get some breakfast for everybody.
meat pies.
Meat pies, maybe.
yeah, RP amongst yourselves. And feel free to, I shared the letter with everybody, so if you guys want to like take a look at it, or if somebody wants to read it for the camera, then go right ahead.
Gav can't.
That's fair.
Where?
Where?
Yeah.
We were trying to figure out where Honorine and Rosa ended up.
Rosa
So-
could have been the little spoon. But that's up to her, because Runa probably would have been asleep before.
Len put out enough blankets and pillows everywhere that, everybody could have. It might have been a little cramped, but everybody could have piled up. Somebody could have crawled in bed with Len, and he would have had no idea.
Would have had a very
Blankets.
frosty sleep.
Yeah.
Out cold.
After, because I still have that wound, right?
Yes, you still have a fate wound at mint this time.
Yeah,
So-
I would have.
I thought it was supposed to heal by this session.
Oh, that's right, because of the tree stuff. Thank you. You're right. Yeah, it's healing because of the specific like warming stuff that you did and after the night cuddled up and stuff like that. So just a quick direction back to the Roll20. This is the Dragon's Nest. I put the information and stats like down in the corner. And I redid the Dragon's Nest district thing that accompanies it. So now all the numbers should reference specific places. So you have an idea like where everything is. There is 2 and 11 and 14 are all Gertrude's homes that she owns. So you guys can decide which of those like you guys stay at. 11 is like waterfront property, 14 is kind of the middle of the district, and 2 is on the fringes next to the Despair. So
So who would live where, effectively, between Runa, Len, and Hans?
well, I think we'd established that Len and Hans were like staying like,
Basically
next door to
neighbors.
each other if they
Yeah.
could.
Okay.
I think Hans would have gone for something central just out of utility.
So great.
Yeah, probably in the like 14 section.
Okay.
Runa's probably like she's just looking for somewhere that's available, but 14 would be ideal.
Okay. There is a room available in 14. I also want to point out that 17 is a shipyard that is actually specifically making Veston style longships. So that's something that Runa probably would have taken note of. And 11 is literally across the road from it. Now, both of these are like a very short walk from each other. So.
Yeah, so she's probably gonna go for 11 because she's homesick. So just seeing the ships.
Smelling the pitch that they used to coat the ropes and
Yeah.
everything. Yeah, she'd be just Even
Because
just
she
hearing the
spent
water from the
most of
river.
her life on a ship before this.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Even just hearing the water from the
Yeah.
river as it flows by.
That's the white
Hans-
noise she needs to sleep. So definitely 11.
Okay.
14 seems like what Hans was describing. Is that
Yes, that's where I would have gone. And then I
Yeah.
assume kind of by virtue of the lore that him and Len are neighbors, where Len is also
Yeah.
hanging out.
And then Runa would live close enough to the guys that if something were to go down, she wouldn't have to go far. To be like, hey y'all.
I also
shit's
want to
going down.
note that so I'm kind of pinging off to the side, but like this area, it's the connection to the next area over, but it's actually exactly where Waldo's homes are. So Henri
Okay.
is over there.
Can
So
you
Henri's
ping it
not-
again? Okay.
No.
Okay, kind of over by 7 and 8. Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
This
so
is actually
also
a
not a huge
road
walk.
that cuts the two districts apart, and her home is literally on the other side of the road.
Oh,
So
okay.
Okay.
Gather like most of the troop then. Nice.
That means Rosa and Gav live the furthest away.
they do now.
Does.
Yeah.
Runa just wanted
lives
to
in the-
be as
yeah.
far from the merchant's quarter as possible.
You're
Gav's-
pretty far. You are almost literally as far from the merchant's quarter as is possible to be.
Because Gav's living in the Bearhausen right now.
And
Oh,
I'm going to
Runa
work in
would-
the
Southern
other.
Finder Herd.
I'm going to work in the other districts. It took several hours just to do this. So
Yeah. That's very fair.
Runa would probably offer to let Gav stay with her till he gets a place.
There
Because
being
he's
a-
sleeping on a couch in the bear house anyway.
That's a step up from a hammock in the basement near the docks. Like he's honestly he's happy because one thing Gav is not used to is hearing like just regular people. You know, this is this is the most exposure he's had to regular society.
Socialization.
Yeah. Just kind of by proxy. He's wallflowering right now.
Fair.
Anyways, we have shit to go through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yes, Runa would choose a place near, like, in 11.
okay. Okay.
Yes.
And then will come back with breakfast, and they can get to reading things.
Yeah.
Good.
Brandy seems very delighted by the breakfast, like the Eisenstyle breakfast. Over in the merchant's quarter, there's a lot more kind of Vendel and Veston fare. Vendel fare is basically dressed up Veston fare, like we used spices and maybe added fruit.
Because they think they're so much better.
wait? Is that the ketchup sausage that you tried to tell me that they eat?
The currywurst is an Eisen thing. Not a Vendel thing. And yeah, it's basically like a bratwurst with like a curry ketchup on it. You did not seem to think that the picture looked appetizing.
That's because it wasn't.
It doesn't
And
look
I
good.
like
it
ketchup.
tastes so good.
It looks great after 3 or 4 beers, I'm sure.
Oh,
Yeah, I think all Eisen food is secretly like sobriety food.
yeah. Probably.
Everything is
pretzels,
hangover food.
breads, sausages.
Yeah, it's bread and meat and
It's
like,
all hangover food. That's
Yeah.
the secret.
That's so fun.
eventually
Oh.
someone's gonna invent pizza.
They probably already have like a precursor.
Yeah, some kind of
That
pizza
would be over in the
precursor.
Vidachi area.
Or mayonnaise and peas pizza.
Oh,
Stop it right now.
Yeah, you're not allowed
Frankly,
to
you
do that
can
here.
leave now.
save it for the Discord.
Yes.
That's fair.
Fucking
Anyway.
animal.
So we so the letter is found and read by somebody.
Yeah.
If nobody wants to read it aloud, I can do so.
I think yeah, I'll hit it.
Okay.
Pick that up. Got to
What is that?
get this
Wheel of
letter
Fortune.
from
Is it
Like to
important?
buy a
letter?
foul?
Go for it, friend Hans.
Yeah. This is it's just a random letter found among all the papers we stole. Just says, Joe, I've received your latest missive, and regardless of the risks to yourself in crossing the merchants, I'd remind you that any harm your reputation might suffer will pale in comparison to revelations that you have served as a spy within their ranks for the last 2 years. Oof. And that your debts far outstrip your earnings. You are not a savvy businessman. You are a pauper with the business instincts of a footpad who would not have been able to stand in their company at all were it not for my wealth. Do not complain to me again of the harm your own failures might do. Aspire instead to fail somewhat less spectacularly than you have so far. It's just why not do that? God damn. My wealth is the reason you still draw breath, that you still live in such fine appointments, that you are held in any esteem at all. Show me a hint of capacity at politics, and you'll be sitting on a seat in the Merchant League, not peddling influence and secrets in the Merchant's Quarter. Redmond.
I need to meet this
Ugh.
man.
I mean,
He's rich. He's catty. He owns half the city. Is he
a lot of
married?
the property.
I don't think he's a good guy.
I feel like someone in that line of work, if we were married, would not stay married very long. But maybe who knows? Maybe maybe if he is married, his wife is in on the whole thing and helps him run his empire.
Spy for what? Is Redmond? What is he doing with this information? If Jor was spy,
Could be messing with business deals, buying out properties of merchants that are going under. I don't know. Maybe there's got to be, start digging through the bag of papers. There's got to be more in here somewhere.
Yeah, so there's a ton of it that is like responses to various missives that he's sent to Redmond. There's also a lot of it that are like inquiries to other merchants that are in the area. A lot of it seems to be about like, oh, how's your business going? I've heard some rumors, et cetera, et cetera. Like their responses to that kind of an inquiry. Does that make sense?
Okay.
And you can quickly read the kind of like, oh, things are struggling, some of them kind of like talk to Jord, like, perhaps you could be interested in like a small loan for short term. I understand your own businesses are doing quite well, et cetera, et cetera. There are a lot of responses to what seem to be meeting minutes. Like Jor has been regularly reporting on what seems to be a structured and regular meeting of the Merchants guilds here in Freeburg. Does that make sense? And so he had been channeling that information to Redmond every single time they happened.
I assume you guys got more than just letters, yes?
We should have. There's quite a lot of stuff.
yeah, shows the chest of the personal effects, the best kept trophies.
Runa's gonna look through it.
Yeah.
Brings the log.
Thank you, Gaff.
So there's. Go ahead.
What time is it, by the way, in the morning?
Uh,
Are we talking like dawn, or are we talking like...
No, like an hour or so post dawn at this point. Brandy definitely woke up at dawn and then was still for as long as she could be. But stuff was happening and there were new things, and she seems to be just delighted to be kind of like not trapped in a mansion.
Everything is adventure.
And she's still a little timid. Like she's still kind of quick to like retreat behind some skirts when it's a choice, but. Okay, so as far as so the first thing that stands out to Bruno, the very most recognizable thing is Red's broadsword. It's like the most fundamental proof of death thing that she could see, because he would never have gone anywhere without her. It is an old notched battle worn thing, and he had it literally longer than she's been alive. The The next thing that is immediately under it is the eye patch that Hardlaw always wore. It's like splashed with blood, but you know, he had it carved, it's got a rune on it.
Which one?
You're gonna ask that. He has the you know how Volstad has two meanings? It has both the wealth as in I'm getting wealthy and wealth as in I'm gaining wisdom.
Yes.
He has Volstad, but you know him well enough to know that it was always meant as learning from my mistakes kind of thing.
Yeah.
There is a lute that belonged to the Skald. You remember that he had like a collection of instruments and he was always trying to teach himself new ones. There's the dagger sheath that belonged to Fid Blue Eye that was fitted for the very strangely designed dagger
That she has.
Yes, because so the dagger is it's like a red steel, but there are two tines on it, so that it looks like there's a central spoke and then two small things that were almost fork-like. Does that make sense?
Kind
Except
of like
much,
Psy?
yeah, except it forms like a single blade in the center instead of like dipping deep down. Does that make sense? So like the I will see if I can find a picture for you, but it's definitely something that like does not look like most daggers and is very recognizable.
She's gonna put his dagger into the sheath.
Yeah. Len, having seen the dream that you just had, the shape of that dagger now instinctively looks like those people that you saw out in the islands, like a weapon of their craft.
Oh, rather like Len's hand or damn it, Gav's hand.
Since they seem to be designed of kind of like a pairing, it stands to reason. He wasn't close enough to see any hands or anything, but he did see like a few scattered weapons during the fighting. So he didn't see this dagger exactly, but he saw like the kind of style of it.
That dagger appears to be of the same make as the beings who made Gav's hand, which bears on what I needed to talk to you all about. While we
let me get through the chest real quick first.
Oh, go for
Sorry,
it.
just so we don't forget. The other thing, there's a coin that belonged to Lucky that he wore as a medallion. It's a very ancient coin, and generally probably wouldn't be accepted as tender anywhere. Does that make sense? Because it doesn't appear to be made of gold. There's a beard bead, like the kind of like wooden thing you'd use to keep a beard in place, that was carved with a mountain rune that you know belonged to Orm, the graybeard. And there is a wedding band that you don't know who it belongs to because you've never seen it before. And last is something that you knew was Gris, the half Scaregin. You knew it belonged to her. It was a thing that she was kind of always like using like a worry stone. Does that make sense? It's a carving of a little infant girl. You know that she had a child that didn't live out of a year old.
But she pretty much treated Runa like her own child.
Yes. But yeah, it's you can tell just by like the weathering and whatnot that kind of most features would have been like worn away on it.
So there's nothing of hers or her mom's?
There's nothing of Runa's and there's nothing of Runa's mother's.
I was hoping there would be something of her mom's.
Sorry.
That's fine.
No, you're not. You're not sorry.
Bastard.
So Len had been saying about.
Yeah. I had another dream last night. Another legend of my people visited me, and again, this was most assuredly a true dream because I woke surrounded by snow. Mother Winter came to me and showed me a vision of Matrushka herself destroying the people who came before. People very much unlike us. Like giant ant people, almost. Chitin. And hands not quite like ours. More like, and he points at Gav's hands. Gav's hand, the right hand, more like that. And if you recall Mac's glove, it had 4 fingers instead of 5. They fought Matrushka herself and lost. She encased them like one would put a jar over a bug in your house and wiped them, their cities, their weapons, their great works from the world.
Mm.
I believe this is not the first time such a thing has happened, as she then showed me the world still before man, before Usaria had any buildings, before the first men had come out of caves, or even possibly down out of trees. She showed me a pristine world, and then showed me that the Wachtturm was there, even then. Possibly there at the beginning of all things.
Honorine
showed-
has just. Oh, sorry. I thought you were done.
Go ahead. No, you can go ahead. He's gathering his thoughts.
I was just gonna say, Honorine has just actually walked in because she returned to her own place to sleep on a bed instead of the floor.
What, the floor's too good for you?
My
Wait,
photos are very clean, thank you.
other way around.
Anyway, so she returned. So she like walks in just as he's describing this destruction of this whole race and this really dark, and they're surrounded by the artifacts of murdered crew people that Runa grew up with, and this very heavy, and she's like,
They're all in front of Runa.
yeah, and she's like, she walks in and she's holding breakfast.
Oh, more breakfast. Good, thank you.
She's
More
holding
breakfast.
like, crusty bread. It's still warm. It's kind of like wafting steam. There's like some boiled eggs or whatever. I mean, like she's got like a whole basket and she's just like kind of freezes in the doorway and just looks like a squirrel that doesn't know if she wants to keep going or turn around and go back.
Is Brandy still upstairs?
hope so.
No, Brandy like kind of came down. She's been just like poking into every room and
Probably
Brandy,
spending
are
time
you
with all
still
the
hungry?
kittens.
she kind of turns and like flounces back and like bounces down straight on her knees in a move that like automatically causes pain to everyone over 30 when they see it. As she just like lands on him and like leans against Runa. Then she's like, no.
Okay.
Honorine just slowly puts the basket down, like, I'm sorry you had a
And
bad
then she kind of like
dream."
looks at the basket and her eyes widen. She's like, maybe.
It was.
There it is.
Sorry you had a bad dream, Lynn. I can't imagine what might have caused it.
It is not the first time that one of those who are tied to Matrushka have spoken to me in dream. And as always, they left me a token that I knew it was not just a dream. And he points to. Did that snow melt? Because he like gathered it all up, or is it like just permafrost?
If it will melt, but if he wants to find some sawdust to keep it in, and because if you put snow in sawdust and you keep it like below ground level, you can usually keep it for months.
He'll have done that, but yeah, he's like, I was surrounded by a perfect outline of snow when I woke, but the dream is not finished yet. She showed me the Wachtturm, and what she showed me was. Are you all familiar with the properties of a prism? when sunlight goes through it.
You can hear the crickets going through Gav's head.
He's like, hold on, I have
A
the little thing.
crystal.
Crystal, yes. He goes and gets the crystal, and since it's morning, he opens a window a bit and puts the crystal up and does the little rainbow thing on the wall.
Brandy looks
Oh.
absolutely fascinated, kind of like, gimme, gimme.
I can see Brandy and Gav going ooh in unison.
Oh yeah, she just kind of moves a little closer to Gav, like, look, I'm making a move on the wall.
Imagine, if you will, that each one of those colors was reflected from the Wachtturm, and each color had a city, had a people, an entire race and culture locked away within it. Just on the other side of our world.
Whoa.
I believe the Wachtturm is the key or the linchpin that keeps these other races, other people. Some might be human. I could not see them all clearly, but I knew each one had been removed from the world for crimes against the world.
So
Against
Mr.
the very
Trouble's
gods
idea.
themselves.
Sorry. So Mr. Trouble's idea of blowing it up would be bad, huh?
It would be catastrophic. Imagine peoples that required the intervention of gods who may not be wanting to or potentially able to step in and remove them again.
We'll have to
People's-
keep him distracted then.
Yes.
It is almost like a prison, in a sense.
A prison, or possibly the key in the door, or the bar on the door that keeps everybody, all these other races and things, outside.
Keeps them separate from here.
Yes. These, at least the one I saw clearly, they had power, magic, technology that we have not seen here. They could throw fire and lightning from sticks in their hand. They could fly through the air in strange airboats. Many things that I did not make sense, that I am unfortunately not smart enough to decipher.
You spoke of the people that came before. Came before what exactly? Us?
Us,
this
humanity.
time period?
Yes, the world she showed me, the world that they removed these beings from. I can never remember their name.
Cerneth.
Cerneth, yeah.
Cerneth, yeah.
The Cerneth. The Cerneth were here before humanity had raised itself out of the mud and built anything. This was before even a single wall had been raised or even considered where the capital of Usaria now sits. Before nations, possibly even before tribes, before humanity itself, there were the Cerneth. And they caused the gods enough problems that they were wiped from the world by them. I pray we do not follow their path.
The tower is ever present.
Yes.
Hans, what is that you're holding there? Is he still holding the letter to Jor?
Yes, I think it's kind of like half folded in his hand. Oh, yes, it is a letter to Joe from Redmond. Have you heard of him? Yeah, the property baron owns something like half the city at least.
Oh.
Apparently, it had found some other paperwork, but Joe was not only fourfold in debt over his income, but spying for Redmond on the Merchants Guild, or the Merchants League. on the merchants district as a whole, the merchants quarter, likely funneling information about businesses that are going under, people in need of likely very predatory loans, things of that kind of nature.
Are we?
So,
Oh, and yes, Len has a shirt on. Sorry. He put one on to go get first breakfast.
Are we still dressing up Runa?
I don't think we need to do that now that we have her sister saved. I mean, we still can. I mean, you all have fun. There is still that Gertrude's party coming up.
it is true. Richard still
I
has
thought-
that party.
thought-
There's been a lot of unfoldings in the last few hours, I think.
The original plan to have her go in and pretend to be her sister to get her cousin, whatever, second cousin, and get her out kind of fell by the wayside when I had to stab my way out of the house to get them to safety. The how do you say, glow up though? However, you can still continue with this if you were enjoying it. I see no reason to stop.
Damn, Ruth.
Christ, what the hell are you rolling a
So-
62 for?
That's a triple
you just-
explosion.
That's
Are
also
you
a
bad
triple
luck too?
explosion. Uh-oh.
No, she doesn't have those. So
that's
I got scared. But that's
So-
a 62 for Gateway.
I feel so bad about this because
She's dead, isn't
the,
she?
no, the area that she's spying on is covered by the mystery rune.
She's specifically looking for her mom.
Yes.
Oh shit.
What happens is she kind of, she goes out and she, like, I'm assuming, is she carving on herself in front of the child, by the way?
No. No.
It's fine if she is. Like, because
I don't think that's
she had been
fine.
raised that she, like, people did it around her when she was a child.
Well,
Does that make sense?
Yes, but Runa's aware this child was raised Vendel.
Okay.
Like, that's a conversation she'd have to have with her mom.
Okay.
Len is just
Um,
distracting her with Gav with the crystal still then. It's just-
Okay.
He said
Two
his
things.
face, I
The
think.
cat's
Gav-
jumping up to get the light.
If Gav would give me a finesse, or not a finesse, a wits and keen senses roll.
That's just wits. I hope you guys like 2 dice.
I say that to indicate that it's like perception related. Does that make sense?
Well, that's not so bad. I got a dirty 20.
Okay. So you will see Rosa just very quietly like slipping in. She's just basically not trying to interrupt anybody.
Yeah,
But everybody
Gav
else
just
is kind of
sort of, like,
absorbed.
a little bit of a nod to Rosa as he continues to distract the child.
And this is the first time, so since Gav caught it, Rosa's not wearing her mask.
Wonder how long it takes everyone else to notice.
Runa
So,
currently
the
has
little
her eyes
child-
closed.
The little child just blurts out, "You're so pretty."
Yes, she is.
Ah,
You're a very perceptive child.
Guten Morgen, Rosa.
So cutting back to Runa, so Runa just like kind of steps out of the room and like moves.
I got
to...
a 62.
So here's the thing. I'm going to give you just a little bit more detail because like what happens is you go in on the boat where your mom, from a distance you can kind of see the boat for just a second, and then you see that rune suddenly like blocking your vision, and you can see the outlines of it look like they're carved not from lightning as you're kind of used to from you and your mother's magic, but they look almost as if like part of the sky itself had like rotted and fallen out.
Do I get the sense that I know who did this?
Yeah. Do I need to spell it out?
No.
I thought
just-
I kind of had on a 62. So.
Yeah. Runa kind of just tears up, but like quietly. Because now she just has no idea what's going on.
Well, and there is one thing that I would want to point out. You would not be able to find your mother if he had killed her.
Yeah.
Sounds like somebody is crying in my house. Who is
She's
it?
just upset that she can't see her.
Yeah, Brandy too seems to like pick up on that somebody's crying.
I'm not even in the room.
Yeah,
But
she
that's
just stops
fair.
kind of playing with what Gab's doing, and she starts to
Senses.
poke around.
But there's a huge relief. Part of the tears is like I can't see my mom, but there's an intense relief that she's still alive.
It's good.
But she's also frustrated that she doesn't know what's going on.
Meanwhile, Len is just like, I smell salt water. We're nowhere near the ocean. Someone's crying.
What is this?
What's this?
Um,
What's this? There's anger in the air.
This? There's lightning everywhere. No, not my dishes. Yes. Well, then we'll catch Rosa up quietly on kind of what he covered while she was still snoozinating, and kind of what the letter said and everything, so it doesn't have to kind of be rehashed.
I mean, Honorine is reading the letter, like, assuming Hans would let her borrow it. Like, she's reading the letter so she can always read it very quietly to Rosa, too.
Either way.
Did you guys get the book that he was trying to write?
Yeah, they did.
Oh, I
Oh,
probably
we
would
did
have
steal the
stolen
book.
There's
Yep.
definitely at least a couple copies of his different memoir attempts.
And Honorine is totally MST3King the letter, by the way. She's like, oh, that's solid.
My mother, the court wit of Montaigne, would salute you for that.
Runa
Aunt,
comes back into
Aunt.
the room.
Yeah. And sorry.
Like after
Bra-
having splashed water on her face.
Yeah, you're kind of in the midst of like the splashing water thing when you feel some very small arms wrap around your leg.
Aww.
Hi.
It's like, hi. You
Rude.
okay?
Yeah. Yeah, I think so.
She kind of like lifts a finger and touches one of your runes, and she's like, "Do they hurt?" And you notice that like though the process of doing the cutting and stuff like that, like it's not fresh, like it's been sealed by the lightning as it is every time you use the rune.
Mhm.
She did pick out the one you had literally just used.
Runa kind of grins a bit and goes, "No, they don't hurt. Maybe if it's okay with your mom, I could teach you about them."
We'll start with
She-
markers.
She kind of smiles and she says, "That would be fun." And she kind of like takes your hand, is like kind of trying to like bring you back into the room where everybody is, you know what I'm saying? And like right as she turns, you can see lightning crackle through rocks.
He's like, yep, she's one of us.
Well, yeah, she's Vestin.
No,
But-
it's a bloodline thing.
Oh, I know,
Like,
but that
so-
shows that she'd be full-blooded.
It's possible
Or-
she'd be half-blooded.
Yeah.
But your mother's line is kind of known for its strength
Yeah.
in Scareton. So
Rosa will let her pull her. Runa will let her pull her into the other room with like a quiet smile, like, yeah, this kid's like me, and I'd assume my cousin is also like me. Obviously.
Unlikely. She probably would have showed it by this age. Does that make sense? And if Scaregin are not trained, they go mad.
Oh,
That's how you get oracles.
Huh.
okay. So she definitely knows that her cousin isn't. So that's gonna have to be a conversation she has with Sora to be like, is it okay if I train her?
Yeah, that is a question that you'll have to have at some point.
Because she's not gonna do it behind her back.
So is there anything anybody else wants to accomplish in the scene or things they want to share?
Rosa's kind of locking eyes with Henri, like, do we tell everybody?
So Henri, that's assuming that's after she like reads her the letter and stuff, right? She's kind of like, okay, so Henri totally pulled that thing where she was like, kind of like cutting slices of like warm bread and like sharing to Rosa and like kind of like nibbling on it and like glancing at Rosa like, yeah, it's good, right? And then
Wait, what?
and she's just like very intent on her bread after a little bit of kind of a double take, triple take. She's uncharacteristically quiet.
Yeah, if Honorine is, then Rosa is too. It's just like this very much like.
Is
She's
it
gonna-
kind of obvious with Rose's mask off now, and they're like sitting side by side reading a letter? Can we see the resemblance that
They
Gav
have the
was drawing?
same eyes,
Yeah, their eye colors and
which
probably
was
eye
totally
shape.
by
I would guess.
accident.
Yes.
They have I also think their hair is pretty much close to like on Hero Forge I couldn't figure out how to do like an auburn or whatever, so I just did like red streaks, but like
Yeah, Rosa's is.
they didn't have the red I wanted.
You can mix the colors, but that's besides the
It
point.
takes a
That's-
long time.
Too advanced for me right now. Anyway, but yeah, so they have like same hair color, they have like the same eyes, same eye shape, they probably share some bone structure. Like they do favor each other, despite the fact that they're styled very differently, dressed very differently, you know, bearing is very different, but looks.
Although
Yeah.
they might notice Len's not saying anything yet, but he's like
I
sitting on
want
the
you
floor
to
playing
roll
with.
for it because I
Yes,
want to see you
roll
get a
for
1.
it.
Can I also roll for it?
Absolutely.
I don't care
Yeah,
who rolls
I'm
for
gonna-
it, but I want to
I'm-
roll.
I'm going to let you pick either like Rosa or Honorine, and Rosa and Honorine are going to tell you the skill that most defines their character, whether it's like noble, criminal, like whatever, artist, performer, and that is going to be the skill that you can use to kind of
I
read
think
them well.
Plus, what traits?
Bruna knows
wits?
more about Rosa because her and Rosa are quite close, and she's just starting to get close with Honorine. So she's probably going to go with Rosa.
Any type of artist or performer.
See, either way, it's just going to be straight wits
Yeah.
because I have sailor and craftsman, which
I feel like Craftsman could.
No.
No. Okay.
but she
Sorry.
said
No.
You don't. She does not have a point in craftsman. She's just trying to be nice to you. But art in craftsman, the reason that they have a distinction is because one is about function
didn't
and one
need
is about
it.
beauty.
Yeah, didn't need it.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
Awesome.
I don't think Len has anything that Honorine would match because he's got commoner, naturalist, and performer, plus a whole lot of combat skills.
Rosa.
Doesn't Honorine have commoner?
No, but it's about how Honorine defines herself. She can
Oh, okay.
pose as a commoner, but if she views herself as is essentially noble, that's the skill that you read her with.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Like,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I was trying to get the rolls in here again. What was the question?
they're rolling against you with you defining what of your skills kind of most defines your social status and who you are. So that can be noble, that can be artist,
Yeah, Rose is a artist technically. Performer.
If you could stop copying me, that would be freaking great. I was also thinking.
Or you're younger, aren't you?
Yeah, but that doesn't matter.
No, that's great. Okay.
Yeah, so I was thinking also artist for Honorine, actually, because she spends a lot of her time.
So Runa has to have it, right?
I'm gonna talk about it once everybody's rolled. Is gonna roll.
He's
Your
like,
Hans are
hold
not
your
gonna roll.
freaking horses.
I'm still digging through the papers. I'm like, oh yeah, this is
Okay, so he's just like,
I'm just excited about
He's
the
distracted
roll.
by
I'm
the
And
we got
sorry.
Gabs-
evidence, y'all. Okay.
Gabs-
Is
Gabs-
I rolled
Gabs,
got
really
it last
high and
week.
it got me nearly nowhere. So before this. So
okay. Yeah, I'm so
With-
sorry about that.
it's
like-
fine. It's the dude I don't like.
Just more reason.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh yeah, Gav pointing out he already knows from the artist roll. So okay.
Oh wait, what?
So
what
no,
artist
he
roll?
made that same roll last week to when she had her
Oh.
mask
Yeah,
off.
I rolled like a 30 or 46 or something to
I missed
sketch to
Yeah.
sketch everybody in the group.
And then he scratched Honorine out.
No, he smudged it out because he thought they looked too similar, and now
He
he's
thought he
looking
was
at
messing
me,
up the
sees it.
art.
Yeah, he thought he screwed up.
Anyway.
Okay, yeah, Runa is gonna get it like really quickly. For her, it's she sees two people that move like shipmates, even though they've only met a few days ago. Does that make sense? It's a lot of it is just the sort of subtle motions of people who are like family. Does that make sense? Len gets it through like probably just having gone through tons and tons of training to recognize like noble lineages and families and stuff like that, because there's nothing quite as powerful as being able to call it a bastard, or you know, like if you can get
Very
the
good
blackmail
leverage.
of like, oh yeah, he thinks that he's so and so's daddy, but he's not. So that kind of thing. There is a you are sure that they share an ancestor at some point. Not necessarily that they're like sisters. Runa is probably sure that they are sisters.
If they do not want to say is their business, but Ben knows.
Runa, not the same wavelength as you. She's gonna go sit with them and go,
Subtlety, what's that?
"Are you two sisters?
Yes,
There's
let's just come
something
out and
about you guys."
ask it when they were clearly not trying to advertise it.
She's talking to them quietly. She's not yelling it across the room.
It's turned into Bear and Catman. Can hear very good.
Good for you.
Honorine is immediately going to look at Rosa like, you freaking told? Like, she doesn't say it, but it's on her face.
Oh no, and the look is,
Blabbermouth.
oh no, seeing the look. I said nothing to no one.
Then she, like, looks at Runa and is like, have you ever seen the look on someone's face when you, like, kind of talk, like, speak what they're thinking? And you can tell that just for a very split second, they're like, can you read minds? Like,
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
I was just gonna say, like, I know, like, everyone's seen that look. That's her look. She's just like,
Runa just goes, "I just had to see you two together. It's the way you interact with each other. You guys look quite similar."
If I can take a moment, I would like to have Honorine's permission to just sort of take my liberties about something.
okay,
It's a minor thing.
okay.
So as you guys are kind of like talking and having like a fairly serious conversation, then there's like letters of evidence,
Oh no.
you know, like scattered on the floor.
Oh no.
And you know, all of these like kind of knickknacks and stuff like that. There's a sound from the kitchen in Len's room where Honorine had set down the bag that is bloodbound to her aunt. And you hear the clatter of like pots and pans like falling off of a table and like a slight yelp. And then a very like sort of higher level like man
And Len is immediately off the floor, through the door, like grab the boar spear. Who the hell just magically appeared in my house where there are children and kittens, uninvited?
So so I should start with Lady Jamais. Wits is often considered like a measure of beauty. Does that make sense? And Lady Jamais has a wits of 6, coupled with stunning appearance, coupled with dangerous beauty. And she is dressed in like for Montaigne court, like the high court where the emperor will be. So that we're talking like full bodice, like giant gown that probably fills half of the kitchen. And
Do
she's
I
like
have eyes on the
balanced.
kid?
Where's
What's
my
that?
mask?
The kid is still like with you, although she's
Okay.
trying to see what's going on in the kitchen. And you see like Lady Jamais looks down at like where a spear is being pointed at her, and all she does is like arch an eyebrow, like, excuse me.
Honorine is still very like she assumes it was the cat. Honestly. So she's still talking quietly with Bruna and Rosa.
Can
she
I help you?
She says, "Is my niece having gentleman callers already?"
Honorine is for you. Just immediately, he's like the only person he can think of who would like have a pretty much high court noble pop out of a bag and immediately start investigating love life. Honorine.
Noble family.
How hard is Brandy pulling me?
She's like 5, or no, she's
like
3.
3.
Yeah, she's 3, so it's not very.
Yeah.
I,
Is she eager to go see what's going on?
She's eager, but she weighs like 30 pounds, So I'm actually very bad at like exact like how big kids are at different ages. So
Wheels are spinning.
If you want to go see, we'll go see.
And
she kind of just picks her up.
Lady Jamais kind of like gestures to one of the chairs. She's like, "Would you place that there?"
The kid?
No, to Len.
Len's like kind of standing in the doorway to the kitchen. He's not necessarily letting anybody in yet. He might let Honorine pass, but he's also had a fair amount of court training, so he just sets the boar spear aside and pulls out the chair and makes sure that she can, sweep the.
Yeah, she descends
out.
like very gracefully, all told, for a woman who's arrived in the situation that she has.
Honorine kind of scrambles to the kitchen, and
Len just kind of looks and like, "Are you receiving gentlemen callers already?"
She says, "Yes. Are you receiving gentlemen callers already?"
What? No.
Who is receiving gentlemen callers already?
She
Brandy's
says,
like, "What does that mean?"
She says, "So this man is in your home, or we are a guest in his?"
Him. It's his place. It's his.
So
Hello?
you are calling upon gentlemen.
At least this
She
one's not
cups
pointed at me by
Honorine's
Gertrude.
face and kisses her cheek with like the "I am just teasing you, and you know it."
It's so nice to see you.
She says, "I only recently read your letter." And she kind of smiles at Len, and she says, "And we thank you for rushing to the defense of my niece."
Of course. Tea? He
Oh, that would be
starts
delightful. I
putting out a
brought
kettle.
wine. I hope it wasn't too forward of me.
It's never too early for good wine.
Yeah, she.
So Honorine is going to this is a little bit out of character. This is a lot out of character for her because normally she's very very demure, very mindful. She's normally very respectful of her aunt and everything. So it is wildly out of character for her to take Jamais's hands and practically drag her to the place where Len set up the blankets, which is Len's bedroom, ?
Yes. Bedroom and guest room.
And she grabs
and
the
when
bag.
she kind of realizes she's being dragged off, she just passes off the bottle of wine. She's like, "Make sure to let it breathe for a minute."
Of course. He's gonna pop that up while he's making the tea and seeing if there's
Rosa.
any of the pastries that Honorine brought, anything survived that can go with the tea.
To survive the child.
Yep.
Also, the underside of Jume's dress. So
Oh,
she appeared on the table.
Rosa at this time kind of like peeks out behind
Yeah.
Len. Just
Yeah,
very
like this absolutely beautiful Duchess just sweeps by everybody. You know what I'm saying? You can see Brandy just kind of like, just at like the complexity of the dress that the woman is wearing, and she has bearing like a queen.
and then's
But-
gonna kind of reach around and kind of scoot Rosa in that direction. You talk with them too. Go.
Runa's
go.
gonna look to Hans and Len.
It's an immediate towards Runa for help me as I'm being pushed into this room with these two very fancy
I
ladies.
hear a
Runa
squeak.
just looks at you like, what do I do?
And Runa and Hans and Gav are looking at each other like, did we just see that?
Look at me. Do you think a noble's
like-
gonna enjoy the sight of me?
Honorine, she follows you into the room. There's like a little bit of a giggle at like the stir that she knows that she's caused.
And this is the room, remember, that's like got all the drawings of Len on the walls that he's been given as gifts in various states of undress. Nothing.
Oh, she's
tasteless, mind you, but-
absorbed.
Uh-oh.
Len has been drawn like many French girls.
Yes.
So, Honorine has brought her aunt into this room. And she opens her mouth and then kind of spots something over Jame's shoulder and then kind of glances around and like re-notices the portraits, and she's just like clearly willing herself to disappear into the floor.
But she does not have forte.
Yeah,
No.
and Jame just sort of like looks at a few of them. She can clearly tell that like Len is just the subject and not the artist of any of these. You know what I'm saying? And she immediately kind of goes to probably one of the best, but also the least sort of provocative one of them. Does that make sense? Like there are some that are like, let's show off them obliques and maybe hint at what's further down, kind of.
The happy
I don't know.
trail is happy.
Very much, you know, like it goes right down to the bottom of the paper. But this one is a little bit like, it's less like provocative. It's a lot more just like shirtless Len, like leaning against a bench. Does that make sense? And like preoccupied with something else. Does that make sense? And what is skillful about it is that it's like, the attention is all on like some muscles being like relaxed and others being tense, and how well done the disparity between the two is. So it like very much looks a lot like a like lazy cat. Does that make sense? And she kind of like takes it off the wall and looks over it and just seems impressed. Does that make sense? She says he should patron this one if he is not already.
I will let him know. She like slowly closes the door behind Rosa.
Whoosh. Click.
I need to.
And it's very obvious that Rose is like, it looks like Rose is almost saying to you, I don't belong here. I don't belong here. This is not the.
Rose is still trying to get to Runa.
Yeah.
Clawing on the door.
The panic of,
Reaching under it.
it's the,
It's like, yo, let me out.
Okay.
oh, no,
Okay.
Rose is more of a fox, so is that.
Anyway, so, I keep losing my train of thought. God damn it, you guys. So, Honorine is like, so I have some questions and I have things to tell you. Which would you like first? Dearest.
You watched Jame study Rose's face for like a second, and then her gaze turns to Honorine's, and then it goes back to Rose's, and that's how long it takes for her to know.
And
She
there's
says-
like the silent sort of like Honorine communicating like with her eyes, because I mean both of them have been to court, like they can talk without words somewhat. And so she's like basically like kind of expectant, like is it true?
Janae kind of like takes a deep breath and she says, I have always thought of you as a daughter. She says, although I have no right to that by blood. She says, you came to me in the arms of someone who bore you from your mother, who did not survive the escape from wherever it was that they had been. They simply asked me to take you in. And at the time we were unlanded and everything was uncertain, but I could not see you there so small and so helpless and not take you to my breast. At the time, the emperor's wife was visiting court more frequently, herself a powerful Strega. And while you were still a child, she saw you and saw the potential of what you had to become. That was it was only a year after you began seeing things. I don't know what happened to your family, only that the truth would have been a danger to you.
Oh.
She moves and she puts her hand on Rosa's. And then puts another into Honorine's, like leaving to the two of you to like finish a circle if you're going to.
Sure.
It's not like a
Rosa has no
requirement,
clue
you
what's
know what I'm
going
saying?
on,
But
so
like
it's just
So Honorine can see that Rosa is overwhelmed. I don't know if Rosa's actually making noises.
no, it's fully just like panicked eyes of like, oh god, I noble lady. Most I've ever done for noble ladies a reading.
She's just like blue screened.
Oh yeah, basically.
So Honorine is going to reach out and like take Rosa's hand and like not just take her hand, but like lace her fingers into Rosa's and like kind of squeeze her hand, like kind of pulse her hand like 3 times, like just sort of something that I don't know is like seemed reassuring, like
Still blue screen, like
I mean,
Rose's eyes
is
are
she pulling
locked.
away or anything? Like
No, she's not pulling away or anything. It's just full eyes are locked on Lady Germaine. Like, I don't know what to do here.
And Janae kind of like she moves and she like slides fingers through Rosa's hair, like where I assume it's like pulled back a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and she just kind of like moves her hand in and she pulls it free painlessly. And then she kind of like reaches into her own bag, and she pulls it. She's got like a traveling cosmetics kit, like and a like hairstyling, everything that a noble woman needs to like look her best, like on the go. And she just kind of like starts setting them out, sits down, and then she just like pats a seat across from her.
It's a look to Honorine of what do? I was not raised noble.
Rosa, Angelina, this woman is the most gentle and kind person that I know. In a court that only encourages cruelty and self-interest. So when I tell you she is extraordinary and she will not hurt you, I mean it. It's okay.
Okay. And so
Oh.
she'll kind of sit and let whatever happen happen.
Jermaine's like
Honorine-
100% starting to give you a makeover the moment you sit down.
Yeah, Honorine's like she's picking up the comb once more. She's into it. Well, I mean, or it's familiar, it's comforting. All of the female spaces that she grew up in were like women kind of getting ready for things together or undressing together, or like she's grown up in this very communal, like ladies' maids and nurseries and nannies and whatever, like, you know, learning from female tutors and, you know, from her aunt. So like this is obviously a very natural, like very like familiar sense for her, like, and it's very comforting.
And for Rosa, it's almost the complete opposite, where she was raised by Wilma, kind of moving from family to family, place to place for whoever could need her as a tool, as a Strega, even though she wasn't, I don't want to say very good at it, because eventually the bad luck would follow her and terrible things would start happening to those families. So she'd get moved to the next one very quickly, and then kind of being this, in this place of like two women are taking care of her, for her feels alien beyond all belief.
And that's when wine arrives to help, in the form of Lynn knocking on the door and coming in, if allowed, with the 3 glasses of wine, sets them down with the bottle, waves without saying anything, and then just backs out and closes the door again.
Yeah, like Jamae does rise, like, but it's mostly just like kind of block Len from being able to see Rosa. She doesn't want anybody to see her before like the effect's complete.
Yeah,
Does that make
fine.
sense?
Yeah.
But she does just take 3 glasses, and she's like, everybody else is welcome to help themselves. She says, none for the adorable little one. This is stronger stuff.
Of course. It's not breakfast wine. Understood. But he actually leaves the bottle there. He
Did
can,
you just
he can
say
bust out some of
practice
his
wine?
breakfast wine.
Oh.
Totally different thing.
Similar.
So,
You take little wheels and put on bottle for child. So.
So Jamae, she says, I don't mean to be rude. She says, but do you wish to hide your scars, or are you proud of them?
My scars remind me what the Inquisition did to my family.
She wore a mask until today.
I plan to still wear it out, but around you, Honorine, and Runa, Len, Hans, Gav, I don't feel a need to. They have become the closest thing that I have had to family in a very long time.
And she says, if you're ever in Montaigne lands, you are welcome in Size to Size lands, so long as we still have them. I'm in a bit of a pickle right now with the Emperor. It's a whole thing. I won't go into it right now. And like her hands are like moving through hair, kind of restyling it. Like she is not trying to make you look like the fanciest Montaigne noblewoman about to go to court. That's not her intention. It's more like, I see beauty and I want to bring it out. Does that make sense? She got a 61 on her roll.
As they're working, because Honorine helps.
Oh, absolutely.
As they're talking, Honorine is going to also say, I would not recommend rehiring whoever you hired to escort me to Eisen.
She says, Gerard Duquet?
No, the carriage swordsman.
Oh. She says, She says, let me know. She says, what happened?
I felt kidnapped. I felt He was hired by DM help.
Teresa Rosette Rhines do Rones.
Yes. He appeared to have been in the employ of the lady Rhines Rones.
That is why that bitch has been crowing in my face for the last week.
Well,
She has been very proud of something and very coy about saying exactly what it was. She thought you were dead.
I
Well,
mean,
I'm not.
it did save you from the Inquisition.
So that's another thing.
Yes, please, niece, why don't you catch me up on your adventure? It's not a request.
There's a reason I wrote such an urgent letter.
And there's a reason I came so quickly.
Meanwhile, everyone outside's like trying to entertain the child. What do you think they're talking about?
At least it's not like with Runa where they had like everyone against the door, like.
Like it's not a very big place, so I would assume that they could kind of hear it. But I'm
Probably hear
assuming that
voices talking.
Honorine and Lady Jemay are speaking in Montaigne, not Eisen. Especially
They're
after
speaking in
Honorine's
what is Rosa speak Montaigne?
No.
Okay.
Well, nope.
Rosa
So
can
then-
speak Eisen. Oh god.
It is incredibly rude to speak a language in front of someone that they don't speak. It's
Yes.
exclusionary, and it's not
Man,
fun.
tell that to every single workplace I've been to.
Sorry, I'm realizing
Eisen,
that Runa did that when
Vendel,
she was talking to Kavi in
and-
front of Hans and Honorine.
Sorry.
and Usara are her 4 languages currently, and she only has 1 in each of those languages.
So
So they would be speaking in Eisen.
they're probably speaking in Eisen, yeah, but you can probably hear like the murmur of voices as opposed to like
Whole sentences.
Yeah.
yeah.
So I suppose I should say, is there anything that she's leaving out? Or is she just kind of, because Jemay is extremely skillful at like telling when people are holding something back or whatnot. And in court, she's used to sussing it out of them like kind of stealthily, but like with her niece, she's not afraid to just be like, "No, you're going to tell me."
I'm trying to decide if she told her. I guess so. Backing up a little bit, I don't think Tiny Honorine told anyone about her friend in the forest. It's possible she tried once or twice and maybe got written off as it being like an imaginary friend or something. That's sort of my assumption.
Yeah, I think during that time, most of the other noble women are around. You were kind of like, oh, she's on one of those flights of fancy. And Jemay listened to it in the indulgent kind of way of like, I think this is an imaginary friend, but I'm still paying attention to a child. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like validating her. Does that make sense? But like not but not necessarily like, oh yeah, tell me what your shadow friend from the forest talked about. But like Jimmy was also the same one that would be like, okay, we need you to not like climb out your window at midnight anymore and disappear and have the entire estate looking for you.
Again.
Again.
This week.
I think she is leaving out like the Shadow Man part. I think she's sort of like glossing over like there was an attack on that carriage. I didn't see exactly what was happening because the swordsman put a knife to my throat and said that the lady sends her regards, and then rode straight to Eisen and brought me to the Inquisition.
Does this man still live?
I think so.
That is valuable. She says a swordsman who's taken a commission to kidnap a noble from another family. That's evidence that if I presented it in court would permanently damage the Rosette Rhines du Run's family.
Oh. And Honorine kind of is shaking her head like she she demanded, he demanded that the Inquisition do something. He was accusing me of being a witch, which I am not. I no longer see those things. I grew out of it.
Sorry.
Was that in character?
Yes.
And she's just like resisting the urge to like stomp on Rosa's foot or something.
Yeah, there's like a little like hesitation as she's like giving Rosa some eyeliner of like when she's like, I grew out of it. Like you can tell like she may just sort of like she knows there's more to the story than that. Does that make sense? People don't grow out of sorcery. But she's like sort of respected the privacy for a long time. She says, if you can find this swordsman and deliver him to us, I'd be happy to pay an enormous bounty for it.
I know the swordsman.
We could always ask Len on Stukav.
I was thinking Hans and Gav and Len, but I'm not sure that it would be officially anyone but Hans because of the swordsman thing.
See.
And actually, Hans, just as a pre-warning, like it's forbidden for a swordsman to take a commission out on a swordsman. Does that make sense? But it's also forbidden for a swordsman to take a kidnapping as a contract. You're hired to fight duels, not steal noble women.
I don't know if he's actually formally a swordsman either. Like, I don't know very much about this man.
That's fair.
So, Honorine doesn't know, but I don't know much about him either. So Honorine is going to be like, can you tell me everything you know about him, or perhaps have whoever hired him write to me?
She says he appeared literally a day before I was planning to send you. He was on his way through into Eisen, and he was a swordsman, and it seemed just a stroke of convenience, and I should have seen that for what it was. I simply thought that it would be a more experienced fellow amongst a company of those I've been hiring for that purpose.
Senor Gerard?
No, it wasn't him.
No, Gerard is something of an old family friend.
He was sent forward first. He didn't accompany me. He had nothing to do with the absconding. And she stumbles over the Eisen word for absconding a little bit. Like, she doesn't speak great Eisen, but she's working on it.
Yeah, and she kind of finishes the work on Rosa, like hair, makeup, everything. It's the he kind of looks to like Honorine, like, do I know what I'm doing or what? You know. She says, let's bring you down and see what everyone else thinks.
Are you okay?
She says, I'd like to meet all of your friends.
She's looking at Rosa and she's, are you okay?
See, I did not grow up with a mother, so this is, I guess, what it is like.
If you have a good one.
She kind of smiles. She says, I can make sure you've done your homework if you like.
She's also going to, before they bring Rosa down for anyone else to see her, she's going to find a mirror for Rosa to see herself and hold it up. What do you think?
And Rosa just takes a moment. I look like mi madre. My mother.
Is that a good thing?
She was very beautiful.
Well, so are you.
Grazie.
Shimei is happy to lead the way down the steps. She's like obviously vastly overdressed, even for just the size of the room. But
Honorine is gonna help her manage like the train and stuff.
Yeah, and she just she kind of like slides down, and you don't know where she pocketed it, but she kind of produces the picture of Len from his room. And she just like kind of like hands it to them, and she's like, "That artist I would like to speak to."
Oh yeah, she is very talented. I can introduce you if you'll be around for a little while, or if you'll need to arrange things in the future. I know somebody of your station is often very busy.
She says, I may not be able to speak directly, but if you could tell her that I would like to serve as her patron for the next month.
Absolutely, I can do this.
She just like produces some coins. She's like, I'm interested in whatever art she has it in her to produce.
Okay. And I will have that ready for you for the next visit, or can give to Honorine to send through to you.
I would be delighted. And she kind of, she's like, allow me to make more formal introductions. I am the Duchess Germaine Sice du Sice of Montaigne, and I don't believe I've met anyone yet except my lovely niece and her sister.
Is she like stepping
Brandy
aside?
is just absolutely enraptured.
Well, so are we? Is that the Rosa reveal, or is she waiting? Like as Germaine?
Yeah, she's like stepping aside at that moment to kind of like show Rosa as she's coming down.
Okay.
As Rosa is coming in, Honorine does know all of their names. Okay, so Honorine introduces them. Like I had to stop and think for a minute because it sort of was like 2 feet in, and I'm like, I don't know if anyone introduced themselves.
Runa has like in Vestin, it's common for like multiple like self-assigned nobles in Vestin, as long as they have like people who believe in their cause. She hasn't actually dealt with like other than Honorine, like other high class nobility. So Runa doesn't really know how to be right now.
Honorine is going to introduce people like this is Gav, this is Han, and like whatever she knows about them. Like she's going to like this is Gav. He is I don't think she's seen his art, so she's gonna be like he's a very good escort through the city at night. This is Hunt. He's very talented with he helped me hunt down the deed. Like this is Len. He's protective. He's our Papa Bear.
The man with the big spear.
He's the man with the big spear.
Wait, you saw? Oh, wait, no, yes, okay.
There's no like that is exactly the joke Jemay was making. Does that make sense? So
Yeah, no,
like there's no reaction of like horror on her face.
Len totally leans into it because he can respect it, but he will also be like, yes, technically noble on the wrong side of the sheets.
But Jemay does like offer her hand to everybody as
this is Runa. She can throw lightning.
Again, it's very impressive.
This is her cousin, her niece, Brandy, and her cousin is here? Question mark.
Yeah, and Jemay absolutely scoops up the little one. She's like, "Aren't you just the most adorable little puppet?"
She was in Runa's arms too.
Yeah,
oh, okay. She won't like pull her away. You know what I'm saying? But she'll.
I mean, if she reaches out for her, Runa will like.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. When she gets to Gav, Gav makes a note, like he kind of hides his left hand.
Okay.
He takes her hand, like, pleasure to meet you, I am Gav.
Runa like goes to put her arms behind her back after she takes Brandy, but realizes she has a rune on her neck. So she like gives up.
And Honorine does not give over the last name of Runa. She says, "This is Runa."
Yeah.
Thank you.
I don't think she gives anybody's last name. I'm not sure she knows the last names of anyone.
Len gives his as kind of part of his thing. He's like, Len Costin, technically a noble on the wrong shaded sheets.
She kind of smiles. She says, as somebody who only a few years ago was called the chaff of the Montaigne court by virtue of not having land of my own, you don't have to worry about technical annul roll or not.
Hans will just snaps a salute and just
Goodbye.
former Captain Hans Ulrich. It's a pleasure to meet you.
There's something artful about the way she just like has a fan snap out of her hand and like
Runa does like a little bow. This is new to her.
Yeah, and she totally curtsies in response as if that was the most proper way to greet her. Does that make sense? Whether they've saluted, whether they've like kissed her hand, like she responds as if everything they're doing is correct.
And Runa just goes, "Pleasure to meet you."
She says, "A pleasure to meet you all." Now I do have a function that I was on my way to. Yeah, she kind of gestures to her dress, like as if that might have been like a modest clue that this was not exactly where she was intending to come.
How would it be easiest to get back in your bag?
She
Can
kind
we
of
hold it for you?
She says, "Oh no! It's a destination that I can travel to. I don't have to leap through it."
Oh, okay.
She says, "I can go to any point that I have placed an object."
Interesting trick.
Oh, I have a great many party tricks.
It's like
Oh.
an interesting
like,
trick.
kind
It
of
almost sounds like magic.
Honorine kind of like would, if it was anyone else, she would like elbow the person a little bit, but it's her Aunt Jamay. She's not doing that.
Yeah, there's like Henri has seen her aunt in action at court. Does that make sense? And one of the things that she's masterful at is the kind of combination of using her sex appeal and flirtation, and then just absolutely like sucker punching people with like burning them to the ground when they thought that they were like in her good graces. It's the push and pull of like, you want to be my friend? You know what I'm saying? So that when she has to mean girl on them, there's like a brutality to it that like leaves everybody else like, oh, holy shit.
A lot of mic drops in her future.
Yeah, she is the like head wit of the court. She is the one that when the emperor says, I want you to humiliate them, she goes, okay.
Professional roaster.
How long do you want this to last?
So I'm going to just say a little bit of her backstory. Holy shit, we're 20 minutes out already.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
I'm good to go
downtown
longer if
intended
need be.
Yeah, same.
No, I have a 6 a.m. flight, so
Right.
we're not going to be able to. Yeah, so I'd intended a whole bunch of downtime and also like the stuff with the art gallery, but Jimay took everything over, which seems appropriate because she's Jimay.
That's what she
That
does.
checks out.
She just a little bit of backstory that was like the first person that she burned down, the reason she became the head wit was because after she burned them down, they committed suicide. She was that like, I know your weak points and I'm going to hit every single one in public in front of.
Crazy.
She did not want to. Also is the funny part. Just so she says, it's been a delight to meet you all. I look forward to seeing more of Freiburg when I have the occasion to do so, but for now I have to return to my duties in my official function.
It's a pleasure to meet you on behalf of the entire troop. But should you need an entourage for your next visit, I'm sure we could avail ourselves.
No, but I might ask that you be a little more concerned about where you leave that bag in case I do need to come here quickly. An open area is preferable.
So sorry about that.
She kind of smiles, and you see she just kind of like scoops up like one of the breakfast pretzels. She's like, "May I take this?"
Yeah, of course, please help yourself.
And she like turns and then she kind of like right and puts Brandy down and she's like, "So lovely to meet you."
Do
Oh,
not
She-
abscond with the child.
like
Where did this
absconds
festin
with the
kid come
dog.
from?
And she's like, some people find Porte a little disturbing, so I'll go see myself out. And she kind of steps back into the kitchen. And
Thank you for
those who
coming.
haven't heard it or seen before hear what sounds like the tear of something wet, and then she's gone.
Thank you
Rosie,
for
you look
coming. It's
lovely.
That
before.
woman terrifies me.
Same.
Rosa, yes, you look very nice.
God, I've not
And
seen
you did
in
before,
so
but with
years.
the makeup and everything is different. I don't.
Very different than what I'm used to.
It looks good on you.
Grazie.
You seem. It's more of a radiance. It's almost like you look a bit more kind of in brighter spirits.
Grazie. I look more like my mother. And then she kind of looks to honoring our mother.
Not family has been reconnected these last couple of days. This is good. Family
This
is
is very
important.
nice. Indeed. It is a welcome break.
Yes, very true, Frantanis. Very true.
But she did ask for favor from us.
Hmm?
Len, you remember man who helped kidnap Honorine? Not
Oh.
part of the Inquisition.
Oh yes, the cowardly shit stain. Yes, I remember him.
He's still alive, right?
Last I knew, he ran like he was going to befoul his pants when the ruckus came up that freed you.
We need to find him
This would
and
be
not
fun.
kill him. She's looking at Gas.
I was not the one who did it.
No, I'm just saying.
I was going to do it, but I had different method. But you know, knife to
She
it worked. I did.
asked for us to find him and said there was a, I think, Isimur bounty.
Ah, yes, this I am familiar with. I
If
think we as a
he-
team can find him.
if he's swordsman, Han, do you know about that? See?
Yes, we could certainly inquire at the guild, although I would say there's a very strict rule about swordsmen hunting down other swordsmen.
Does that still count when they broke a contract and kidnapped the one they are to protect?
There's also a very strict no kidnapping rule within the guilds, so that there's certainly potential for rules to be bent. I'd have to speak to the guildmaster, but it is easy enough to do.
Could it have been under a different name?
Potentially, although the guild is usually rather open about their operations. It's part of running essentially a mercenary, not a mercenary, but it's part of having swordsmen for hire. You need to have trust between parties and free-flowing information. So it's unlikely, unless he was extremely sophisticated, that he had a false identity. At least as far as I'm aware.
Well, the guard or the what did you call him? The guildmaster?
Yes, guildmaster.
He said to come to him with any complaints, and I would say that's a complaint.
Certainly a complaint. I think he would be quite interested.
Yes, I would say he was probably not working under assumed name because he did not expect anybody to know what happened. I was there as he told his story of the carriage and his plan, and our friend, I'm not going to say his name, but showing up and ensuring that she lived.
I mean, yeah, it makes sense. If you don't plan to get caught, oftentimes there's not as many precautions taken.
Is there anyone like I guess Len is indicating that he knows the Shadow Man, right? Like when he says our friend, or do they all know him, or what? Like, how's that working?
I think kind of by virtue of our chat, Hans has kind of spilled his life story to Len on like some long walk one
fair.
day.
Yeah. Len and Hans have like, soldier
kind of-
bro bonded. And
Yeah, we've kind of
shared a lot of stuff and
traded sorrows a little bit.
yeah. So he knows that Hans, was involved with the Shatten Man, and he was there for the story. Yeah, am I saying his name wrong? I can never. Scatman, that's it. I'm the Scat Man.
I've been making that joke
ba-
since
ba-
the
ba-
first
ba-
episode I was in.
But anyway, he knows what Hans told him, and he knows what the story that the guy told the Inquisition, and he saw Honorin's little Shatten Man. That's going to be a thing now. But Scatman figurine and like just the whole thing. So
Probably got
yeah, that's where he
picture.
kind of he's got a fairly decent picture that this guy was planning to just kill everybody in the cart and have it vanish, and oh no, something happened, make up a story, whatever, and instead a supernatural being he never expected and probably didn't even believe was real showed up and only didn't kill him because he had a knife to Honorin's throat.
Did Len convey all of that, like, just now also? It wasn't an accent, so I couldn't be sure.
Oh, it's kind of what he was saying, but yes, that's why he would not be likely have been working under an assumed name. He did not expect a creature of legend to show up and haunt him until he got into the city, knowing that her life was the only thing keeping him from being taken apart.
So we should expect to find pieces of him outside the city.
It depends if he left the city.
If he's left, he could be long gone, in many senses.
I'm so sorry, but before we go looking for him, could someone take me to Gertrude?
Oh yes.
My God. Yes, that's right. We're supposed to find
I
a
don't want
house.
to end up like Honorine without a house for weeks.
Oh
my God.
Len actually just puts a hand on Runa's back and guides her out the door to keep from having her skin stripped from her.
No, she says it in more of like a sympathetic way. Like, not as an insult.
Rose is doubled over laughing.
He is.
I have
just
a
like-
house. I have
You
a
do
house.
now, but you didn't for a bit.
And I can
I just
see her
don't wanna be in-
arguing as Len is.
It's just kind of like, come on, we go find Gertrude very quickly.
Let's
Discretion.
go see what Gertrude is.
She is going to need a very big hole to dig.
All right. We'll close out with, Runa having her first meeting with Gertrude. The
Sorry, Honorine. Oopsie.
You bitch.
That's
Full
for the
circle!
Yes.
Full circle!
she kind of like takes the better part of the day to kind of show her like all the different properties and stuff like that. And like near the end of it is when she sees the waterfront properties and kind of can see the ships being built next door.
And Runa kind of just goes, those are ships like from my home. And she gets really excited about it.
She says, "Oh, that's Orin's shipyard." She says he's been working here for as long as I know.
Would you like to meet someone from there?
And like, she's gonna choose the waterfront property.
Yeah.
Because it's the thing that makes her feel closest to home.
Yeah. She says, "Well, you're going to be just in time. We're having a little get together over some art tomorrow." And she kind of does the whole explanation. Like basically, it's people from all three of her apartments. Like she has 3 different like sets of buildings, as well as the others throughout the Dragon Nest are invited as guests to just kind of like come see Guy Orwell's art. And he's promised to be there, which is apparently like a rarity for him. Usually he's just happy to like have it revealed. So I'm going to go ahead and close this out there. I know it's a few minutes early, but it feels like a good stopping point. And I feel like if I pushed into something else, it'd be like half an hour over. I have to say,
Burning questions need to be answered. How many times does Gertrude try to set Runa up with somebody?
she's still getting a feel for Runa, you know, so like it's not like a first date thing, you know.
Okay. So she didn't see her come in with with a man and go, ah.
Well, I mean, Len
like there was
Hans, I think
Gertrude was absolutely scoping the vibes of like, are they together? No, she's like getting a different place, and like obviously like mores are different and stuff like that, but like it's much more of like an important thing in the upper classes. In the lower classes, like people move in together all the time. You know, marriage is like a thing that is largely about the exchange of property and like the creation of alliances and stuff like that. Commoners just get together and have babies. And like,
Don't got time for all that extra
and
paperwork.
if they've been doing it for a while, then like they might get the blessing of the church.
Yeah. It's very much a we'll get around to it eventually type thing.
Yeah, like if you're a commoner, that's like so much more of like a mark against you than, oh, are you a bastard? You know?
Yeah.
Anyway, so do we have suggestions for the two best moments for RP XP purposes?
That stuff.
I'm gonna suggest something a little bit non-traditional. It's really hard to not have your character involved in like goings on that are exciting. So I actually am really impressed with Hans being like, evidence. And I actually kind of want to nominate him because that was amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm done with that one.
I also really liked the dream stuff with Hans and his reaction
Yeah.
to that. And the cold
Yeah,
open
that was
stuff.
crazy.
Yeah, Hans and Len, those two
Yeah,
for dream stuff.
yeah.
Okay.
Plus
Thank
one
you.
for Jamae.
Yes, Jermaine. Jermaine has
Chavez will spend it on getting to wit 7.
We did need some Hans trauma. We did.
Yep.
Yeah.
There was-
It's Hans'
been
turn.
too
It's
long.
about time, yeah.
I like that it's like, oh, cold open, my turn to move the barrel.
Wait, does that
all
mean
right.
Gav is next week?
We'll see. I don't make promises.
You'll have to tune in next week to find
Yeah.
out.
Uh-huh.
Oh,
Got him.
yeah. I think
Um,
Cam is actually the only one without anything mystical going on in any way.
Well, I'm
Sorta. I mean, he's got a funky hand.
his
No,
hand is
he's-
out.
He's got the hand. That's really all he's got going on. That's actually
Oh.
magical.
I mean, the
Relic from-
Verschlingen is outside of town. It's kind of not really a direct threat on the city yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we've
He
now
said
already
ominously.
discovered that his hand is just a relic from like prehistoric this place, which is
And
crazy.
he uses it to draw.
Yep.
And ominously clack his fingers at people.
I keep thinking of Cavill in the Mission Impossible, like cocking his
Oh,
biceps before. So, all right. I wanted to thank everybody for coming out and watching, for participating in the chat or just observing. If you're watching this on YouTube and you can't, throw a comment in the chat, throw a comment into the comments. So, and in this crazy 1,000-mile-a-minute news cycle weird wackoness that we have going on in the world, Rosa's just eye is twitching as I mentioned it.
I was going to point that out. You beat me to it.
The thing to do right now is to remember, like, everybody, no matter what they believe, no matter what they espouse, underneath it all is a core of humanity. And so even if you cannot be kind to everyone you meet, please be nice to them. So thank you very much, and we will see you next Sunday. And
Good night.
good night, y'all.
Good night,
Good
everybody.
Night, y'all.